By the fortunes of war, at Gettysburg, the men of the 1st Minnesota were twice at the fulcrum of a battle that decided our nation's future. The history of Minnesota and its first Minnesota Volunteers during the Civil War years reflects the central themes of the American story. The dispute over the permanent home of a tattered battle flag the regiment captured at Pickett's Charge symbolizes the struggle to discern how that story shall be told. On May 11th, Minnesota joins the Union as a free state. Across the nation that spring, rancorous debate over the issue of slavery threatens the continued existence of the Union.
Most white Southerners believed that they should be able to take the institution of slavery with them into the Western territories, that if they weren't able to do that, that would represent an unequal treatment by the federal government of the territories.
When war begins, Minnesota will be the first state to offer troops to President Lincoln.
The situation for the United States Army at the time was a moment of tremendous uncertainty.
The Minnesotans look west across the Seminary Ridge, where General Lee planned one more attempt to accomplish some signal result, and perhaps end the war.
The brave men of the 1st Minnesota were just outnumbered.
Colville's men get all the way down into the low ground of Plum Run. Then they start firing 2 volleys, and then the unthinkable. He orders a bayonet charge.
The 1st Minnesota charges into the right flank of Pickett's forces in a grand rush to get there in the quickest time. They rushed for the low wall where the break had been made, and very quickly all who had passed it were killed, captured, or had fled. Private Marshal Sherman of Company C captures the colors of the 28th Virginia.
I think the Confederates might have breached the Union line if the 1st Minnesota hadn't made the assault that they made.
No men in no country, in no battle, at no time, ever sacrificed more willingly and more dedicatingly than the men from the 1st Minnesota. It was an amazing display of bravery.
How will the nation incorporate the Civil War's memory into American life? Over 1 million soldiers are casualties, over 600,000 soldiers dead. The Union is preserved and slavery is abolished.
People reacted to the war in different ways. Some remained very bitter. There was a major reconciliation movement toward the end of the 19th century, and that push for reconciliation often did airbrush emancipation out of the picture.
The conflicts of the Civil War era arise again during its centennial in the early 1960s as the nation slowly awakens to the civil rights movement.
We are all part of the human race. The Civil War was about slavery.
No matter how much we disagree, we can't be like we were in the 1860s.
The war defined the nation of who we are.
A lot of issues fester in contemporary issues that reflect back to that period. It's not something that happened then and it's over.